a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an...
And there we are. Yes, another morning.
Oh, and I just found out this awesome trick where
Yeah?
I can move the screen down to the bottom so I can see all three of us. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. So thank God for Michael, right? Who
That was
told you how
Michael
to do that.
Service,
Yes.
who's our guest, who
Who just said, "Hey, Paul, did you ever try to grab it and move it?" And you were like, "No."
I didn't know you
I
could
don't.
just move
Look,
this.
I don't blame you because I couldn't.
Yeah,
have
you're
told you
laughing,
that.
but you didn't know you could do it either.
I guess
You
you
didn't
could.
know.
I guess you could, but the idea. Put it this way, you know Adam, right? Adam calls me this morning. This is the phone conversation. He calls me this morning. He goes, he was so pissed off. He's got to go to work today. He doesn't want to go in the office to print something because it's payday. So he's got to print this stuff up. And he can't figure out, apparently something's going on with his internet. And his printer is not connecting. And he's freaking out. And he's got a new Mac, so he doesn't have the crazy fandangled adapters you need to get into the printer. And so he's asking me what I can do to help. And I'm like, well, are you sure that the password is right for the only thing I can think, because he restarted it. Anyway, long story short, he doesn't know where the password thing is. He can't wake up his girlfriend because she's been sick and it's going to piss her off. And he just complained to me for like 10 minutes about being old. I can't figure out how to make this work. I don't know what the password is. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, it's also dependent on computers. I mean, I don't know. When we were making 9 Lives, I tried to use as many New Orleans musicians as possible. And somebody pointed out to me that I hadn't used Johnny Vodakovich, one of the greatest drummers who ever played in New Orleans. So I said, absolutely, got to have Johnny Vodakovich on the record. So I had Johnny come in, and he asked if George Porter would play bass. And of course, George and Johnny know each other. And George was like, yeah, man, I love to play with Johnny. And I wanted George to sing. And I had Washboard Chaz on it, and of course, Alex and Walter, Wolfman Washington, was on guitar. And so George wanted to do the session at 9 in the morning, which is kind of early by musician standards, but he had shit to do.
Got you.
So but everybody loves him, and so everybody's there at 9 in the morning. And Johnny Vodakovich is there at 9 in the morning, and he goes, hey, Paul, what the fuck, man? Got me here at 9 in the morning. Where the fuck is George? I said, well, I don't know, Johnny. It was his idea. He goes, I know. I did it because of him. I mean, where the fuck is he? I said, I don't know, man. He didn't call or anything, and I'm intimidated. It's Johnny Vodakovich. I'm worshipful of the guy, so I'm trying to be as cool as I can. And he goes, don't worry about it. I'm gonna go to Frady's and buy a donut and some milk, and I'll wait for him outside. So I wait a few minutes, and like 10 minutes later, I go out on the hot New Orleans sidewalk, and there's one of the greatest drummers in the world, with a donut in one hand and a milk on the ground in front of him and scratching his balls with the other hand. And he looks up and he goes, where the fuck is George? I said, I'm really sorry, Johnny. I don't know where he is. Now he's 20 minutes late and I don't know why, and he's not called. And he goes, hang on a second, I'll call him. So he pulls out his cell phone and he goes, hey, George, it's V. Where the fuck are you? Oh. All right. So when do you think you're going to be here? Okay, we'll see you then. And he hangs up. He goes, look, man, his fucking computer broke. And if you know George, he's fucking nuts about that computer. And he just forgot all about the session. He went straight out to the Apple store. He's been waiting out there to get his computer fixed. He's just about got it done. He'll be here by 10:30, 11 at the latest. I said, is that all right with you? He goes, yeah, it's fucking George. What do I care? So everybody was cool to wait, but that was, technology, man. George dropped everything and went to the Apple store.
Yep. Have you ever met his daughter, Johnny's daughter?
No. Is she a musician?
No, but she's tons of personality. She is a kick. She wound up at one of our gigs one night for some reason over at Eric's place, and she hung out afterwards. And I think I can't remember who she was with, but she was with somebody I knew. And after the show, we were just talking and stuff, and she was just having a great old time. And then, it comes out that she's Johnny's daughter. And
That's awesome.
yeah, it was great. You know, she was really funny. She was very stylistic and cool. You know, had an artist, definitely
Of
artist
course.
vibe going. Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Her mom and dad are two of the hippest people in town. So
Yes. So, Luis,
yeah.
you're here early. Luis has to get here. You know, believe it or not, for us,
Yeah.
we're early today,
I know
right?
that there's so much ground to cover, and we don't have time because Mike has to leave and Luis has to leave, so we got to jump on it.
We got to jump
That's
on it.
true. But real quick, last week when I was at the museum, I had actually a Thor Ragnarok moment. This is not good. So after the museum, me and my friend Jesse, we went to the University of Chicago Hospital. We went to visit the guy Tex, who's in the hospital because of his lungs, right? So I went dressed as Thor. He went dressed as Iron Man. So we did like a hospital visit. So all the doctors and all seeing us walk through the hallways dressed in costume. And one doctor looked up at us and said, "I'm taking the right meds, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "No, and then you took the wrong one, sir. So keep on taking the right meds." So, and then once we finished visiting Tex, I mean, my costume just got so hot. There's just like sweats upon sweats. And we're just like, get to the car, take off all the clothes, get out of there. And Jesse makes a turn, and you just hear a big old boom. Well, what happened was my Thor hammer, I left it on top of the car. My flask.
No.
And, yes. And Jesse's like, didn't the guys like it on the show? I'm like, yeah, now I got to show them that Thor's hammer's been shattered. I got to buy another one.
Buy another one. I thought you guys made that shit.
Dude, I'm not as talented as these other guys. I'm a fraud. But,
you need to call your buddy who made the Mach 5. By the way, I want to get some real footage of the Mach 5. What town does he live in?
He lives about I forgot the name of the actual city. He lives about an hour north of Muskegon, Michigan. I mean, trust me.
If you go on his Facebook page once in a while, Mikey, you would see that he just posted last weekend a trip in the Mach 5.
Who did?
Luis.
Oh, you did, Luis? I don't
What's
watch. You did a whole thing. You posted a whole thing about you and the Mach 5. I want some video footage because I want to put it inside of some cool. I want to remember like in the cartoon where he's like racing through the jungle, through the desert, and his brother. It was the big race. His brother shows up. Racer X. I got to create that.
You'll recreate that with the Mach 5 and Luis.
And Luis. We'll put Luis in it. Yeah. Yes, it'll be awesome.
Actually, I decided I want to go down to Dragon Con in Atlanta. And my friend's actually going to drive down his Mach 5 to Atlanta.
Nice.
So,
my Allison's son, Brian, is going to Dragon Con in Atlanta.
No kidding.
Okay. Well, we can meet up there. So, I'm actually going
to do a live remote.
Let's go to Atlanta. We'll all go to Atlanta. That sounds like fun.
Dude, let's go. I mean,
get the ticket now. They are live. We are remote.
I'll do the correspondence from Atlanta. I'll do the Dragon Con like I pretty much did at the museum. Go
ahead. Sorry.
No, so like the last time I was in Atlanta, I did, of course, barf, right? And I actually got into the. You got to get like a special ticket to get into the parade, and I actually got into the parade. And normally when I do parades, I stand with the Star Wars people, right? So, the people at Dragon Con are like, so let me see, you're Spaceballs. I say, yeah, I could stand with Star Wars. They go, no, you have to go into American science fiction. I'm like, well, who's that? They had me stand with the Men in Black people and Planet of the Apes. And I'm like, you know what? This is cool because Planet of the Apes came out of Spaceballs, right? So I made them an extension of Spaceballs. So now,
did Planet of the Apes really come out of Spaceballs? No way.
No, they were in Spaceballs. No, they were in Spaceballs.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
They had that cameo.
That's right. At the end, right? At the end or something like when the thing lands, the big head, right?
And it comes out of the nose, right? So the thing is, I didn't realize how streets of Atlanta, how narrow they were. So that gives me a chance to, play with the audience. So I'm on the side that it would stop us, and I tell everybody, okay, the movie. When I say space, you say balls. And Atlanta was done with that, right? So I yell out space. You just hear this whole crowd go, balls, space, balls. Everybody's yelling balls in Atlanta. Finish the parade, and I'm standing to where I can see all the other, cosplayers come through. And a group of stormtroopers come up to me, and a guy goes, that makes sense. I'm like, what's that? He goes, we couldn't understand why people were just yelling balls about Rockaway.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Guilty. I was like, Superman 2, guilty. Oh, gosh.
I read an article. I read an article about Tom Hiddleston, the guy who's playing Loki, and
Yes.
one of the reasons that they wanted to bring him back is because apparently he is that guy at Comic-Con. Like, starting with the first Avengers movies, he comes in. He loves the audience. He's great with the crowd. And they're like, he just lights up the room. They were like, we got to figure out something,
Okay, now we're on to Loki.
Well,
about time we got.
Yes, we're getting
We're on
Loki.
to it now. We're here.
Oh,
We've
well,
talked about Thor.
I was actually going to talk about WandaVision, man. What the hell?
No, we're gonna
make WandaVision
we're
action
gonna-
figure.
I'm going to wait till season 2 to talk about WandaVision.
Yeah, I would.
Let's talk about Loki because I actually
Okay.
enjoyed that. There was a brief moment where they did a little 50s style cartoon commercial, and I thought, oh, fuck, we're going all WandaVision. But they stayed Loki.
Yes.
And it reminded me exactly why I like Loki in all the movies, why I like Loki more than Thor. It's because Loki is a rocker. He's a well-dressed, snide, smart mouth, really going to get his ass kicked because of his mouth kind of thing. But he doesn't care. He's going to mouth off anyway. He's a fucking rocker.
He is.
All the way, man.
Yep.
He is stylish.
Right.
He's more
He's
stylish
fucking funny too. He's funny, I
he's
mean,
fucking funny. He's witty as hell.
Right.
And Thor is like every big dumb jock who kicked the rocker's ass back in high school. And Fat Thor reminded me of this fact because later in life, when you see that dumb jock who kicked your ass in high school and he's lost his used car dealership and his wife's divorced him because he was cheating with his secretary, he is Fat Thor.
That's right. That's right.
But
I
Loki
loved
remains
Fat.
Loki.
I loved Fat Thor, by the way.
Well, of course, you know a lot of Fat Thors, and that's okay. They're fun to drink beer with. But as far as superheroes go and rock stars, I'll stick with Loki.
Yeah, no, Loki. But here's another thing: the guy who's writing it was, he started by cleaning the toilets at the Rick and Morty show because he wanted to be a writer. So no, he was a PA, but I forgot what they call him. They call him the office manager, which basically means that you keep the toilets, bathrooms clean, and all that stuff like that.
Fucking tough. Dude.
But anyway, he had written something that he had who was it? Amazon or somebody had picked up something that he put into development while he's still working in the bathrooms for Rick and Morty.
Wow.
And then the guys at Rick and Morty find out that he had written this thing for this network or whatever like that. They liked it, and so they hired the kid to come and write on the show. So now he's moved from the bathroom to writing. And then the next year, the next year they had him as the lead writer, the head writer. And then Marvel picked him up as the head. Kevin Feige loved his work so much.
See, I already liked the show, and now you made me like it more. So that's great.
No, I like the guy. I like the kid who's
Story of the underdog.
What's even funnier is that guy's he loves wrestling, and the show that he pitched and was going to be made was a show about wrestling. He just couldn't cast it. And that was the problem, is that, the only thing, he can only cast it with big dumb jocks, and they can't,
Sylvester Stallone had a similar issue. His second film that he made after Rocky was a hit, and everybody's like, you can do what you want. He wanted to make Paradise Alley was the movie. It was about wrestling.
Uh-huh.
But it was really about these three Italian brothers' relationship in Hell's Kitchen in the early 60s. And he envisioned it as him and Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, with Stallone playing the wrestler and Pacino playing the kind of hustler brother, and so on and so forth. And
that's cool, actually.
It sounds awesome.
I'd go see that, actually.
I would have too. And he was new to the business, and apparently Pacino and De Niro were unimpressed. He said in an interview that De Niro never answered his calls, and that Pacino told him he'd call him back and kept him waiting by his phone all day and never called him back. So he cast it with Armando Santi
Who's great.
As the Al Pacino role, who was great, and himself as the De Niro role, and then a big guy as a wrestler. It was actually a really good movie. I liked Stallone's early movies. He did that, and he did Fist, which was a play on the Jimmy Hoffa story. He was a good writer and director. I'm a fan. Anyway, we were talking about.
I mean, your brother's a big fan of his. By the way, your brother's talked about seeing Stallone.
My brother has worked on movies with him, and he has seen up close his professionalism as a director. And I had some friends that were working as set dressers that were kind of, making fun or whatever. And he's like, man, that guy knows his shit. You make fun of his way he talks or whatever, but that guy knows how to make a movie from start to finish. He could do your job better than you're doing it.
Well, Johnny tells me this one story about Sylvester didn't know what shot to do next, right? And it was the day, apparently, whenever you're making a movie, there's one day out of the month where all the fucking brass shows up from the movie company, right? The people that are paying for the fucking thing. They only show up every once in a while, but it's like once a month, once every 6 weeks, they all show up. Well, this is one of the days that they were all on set. And I don't remember what exactly Johnny said happened, but for some reason they couldn't do what they planned in the morning. And so, Sly's just coming up with a plan or whatever like that, and he said he just handled it so cool and just really out of nowhere just put together this whole fucking scene and shot it like right there, but he was stalling the whole time. Like Johnny says, the way that he stalled was just fucking brilliant because, these guys are just, they're used to being pushy and this, that, and the other, and Sly's just running them just completely, he knows the game inside and out and just,
Sure. And it is a game.
The story I like is I always heard that him and Schwarzenegger were always in competition, right?
Of course.
So, I guess, Schwarzenegger, this is the rumor I heard, is like Schwarzenegger said, hey, get back to Stallone that I'm considering doing this certain movie. So they're like, hey, man, Schwarzenegger might take this movie. You should take it from him or whatever. So Sly agreed, and sadly that movie was Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. So I don't know if he was fucking with him, like, yeah, I'm going to take that. And, Sly's like, I better take it before Schwarzenegger.
You remember Schwarzenegger went into that time when he thought he was a comedian, right? All the
time is short. Gentlemen, time is short. Back to the superhero review. What did you guys think?
Loki, you first, Luis.
Would y'all
I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. The cartoony part that Paul mentioned was actually, narrated by Tara Strong, who's a real strong voice actor, actually. She does a lot of cartoons. She does a lot of everything. So I was impressed that they even gave her like a big old credit at the end. And that pretty much explained away what they're going to do with this whole multiverse thing, right? I mean, that was the explanation of what's going to happen.
Right.
This first episode did a lot of setting up of here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen with the character. Essentially, he's becoming a good guy for this. Yeah, it's going to be
an anti-hero. He'll be an anti-hero,
right?
Right?
Yeah, I'm about to say he's going to have his tricks up his sleeve. Don't get me wrong, he always does. But this is one of those where you're going to say you're going to root for him, right? Now, at the same time, where they came out and said that you're going to be hunting other versions of yourself, right? At first, I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to do like WandaVision where Vision's going to fight Vision. And it's like, no, you can't really repeat that. So what's going to happen is when if you check his identification card, his sex said fluent. It didn't say male or female. It said fluent.
You know why it says fluid? Because he can shapeshift. So that's why it's fluid. But it has nothing to do with Facebook weirdness and stuff. It's because he can be right. But go ahead.
Fluid, right? So that being said, he's going to fight other versions of himself that are other actors, right? So he's going to fight like a female version of Loki. He's going to fight, all these other versions of Loki. Yeah. So that's what they're sort of keying in on. That's why the person at the end, they just show the shadow, right? And he also said that when Owen Wilson, though, chameleon, I didn't freaking recognize him for a hot second, and then I'm like, wait, when was Owen Wilson in this?
Well, I'll be honest. When I first saw him in the trailers, it took me a second to put it together, but I just saw Luke Wilson in Stargirl, so they do look enough alike that I'm like going, he's got to be one of the Wilson brothers, right? I mean, but the nose, it's that thing with his nose that just, it's like
that broken nose thing, yeah. So he even said, as he was investigating these other crimes, he said, we all had the same knife wounds and so forth. What does that mean? That Loki, if you've ever seen in the other movies, always prefers his blades all the time. So they're all versions of Loki using his knives that he always likes to pop out of his hands. So again, I believe he's going to be fighting variation versions, or what they call them, variants of himself.
Yeah, they're variants, right?
Right. So that's what it's going to be a lot of. In terms of introducing new stuff, I mean, you have the whole time, you have the three the Time Lords and so forth. And apparently, in the whole Marvel history, what I was reading on something on YouTube, they've only come out in 39 comic books, right? And that's not a lot when you think about the whole Marvel universe being out for 50 years and whatever. 39 comics is not a lot, so they really don't do that much with them in the comics.
Well, that's what yeah, right. I mean, they ran that whole little series, like Young Loki, at one point, and so I think that opens them up though to be able to do kind of more of whatever the heck they want if there's not a lot of lore.
I mean, one of my predictions is going to happen in the show. They're going to come out with a younger version of Loki, and he's going to end up being in the Young Avengers team, along with Scarlet Witch's kids.
Now remember though, I mean, there's another aspect to this thing. You gotta, I mean, that all sounds great in the comic books, but the reason they brought Tom Hiddleston back is because he's so charming and he draws an audience. So just saying that, all right, we're gonna cast some young actor to go play young, because you can already tell, like when they show the flashbacks to Avengers, and now you can go, it's been 10 years. You see crow's feet and things like that.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, no, this isn't. So they can't really put him in a Young Avengers story, and he's the reason that the show exists. So I'm not sure about. But what I will say, this is what I like about the show. Personally, what I liked about the show was the fact that, so you get halfway through the thing, Loki escapes, right? Of course, he goes, and of course, at this place, the time variance, the Infinity Stones are nothing. They got them thrown into the desk. You know, it's like Infinity Stones. This was like the last 10 years was the biggest thing, and they're like, oh yeah, that doesn't. None of that stuff works here. It's not a big deal. But the idea that Loki kind of went and watched his story, and how at the end of the story he kind of comes clean with Owen Wilson, because a lesser thing would have broken him free and let him go start going through the different time things, and these guys chasing him. But that wasn't exactly what they had. They took it another layer. So Loki had to break down and admit that, you know, the reason he does the shit that he does is because he's looking for attention, and he knows that he's weaker than he is. You know, it's a.
And dude, I mean, and watching a video of yourself getting killed, your neck. And then again,
a rock star. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely the rock star. But when he sits down with Owen Wilson at the end and kind of just comes clean, that's to me when I was like, all right, so they're going a different direction with this. This is cool.
That's the true Loki. That he you know, for all intents and purposes, he pretty much confessed who he is, why he does what he does.
And it's like the D.B. Cooper bit was like that's when he was the god of mischief, because that's the god of mischief. Great. Yeah, that was great, right? But that's the god of mischief, right? That's what, you know, I think that's why they showed it. That's what you can do as the god of mischief. But this thing about taking over the world and needing all his power, and that's not the god of mischief, right? And so obviously Owen's trying to figure out, you know, what's your deal here, because, you know, why do you do this? And I love the fact that it affected him so much that he, you know, sent those guys up to kill his mom. I don't know if you've seen Dark World recently. Didn't you say, Paul, that you saw Thor 2?
Yeah.
Recently? Yeah. When he sends them up and they wind up going up there and going after his mom, and, you know. I've never seen him deal with that until now. It was like.
That was crazy.
I mean, he was upset that his mom died.
Hey, speaking of some crazy shit, y'all know I've been redoing the Star Wars series. And I have to say, it's pretty fascinating to watch it from episode 1, as opposed to how we all watched it, which was it started with episode 4. First of all, Jar Jar Binks is utterly forgivable because it's a Disney movie. You know, I'm watching it and I'm going, Jar Jar's not nearly as offensive as a Disney character. He's a Disney character, for fuck's sake. What do you want him to be? I want to go to Disney Park now and see him standing next to fucking Goofy, you know? I want Jar Jar with his floppy ears and his bad Jamaican accent out there dancing with Goofy and Mickey and all the kids. So I thought it worked, and the big giant fish who spits too much, clearly a Disney character. It's like, you know, Lucas had the vision long before Disney did, that this should be a Disney film. So it really sort of equaled some stuff out, and it goes along nicely, you know. You still hate the guy who plays Anakin Skywalker. You know, you still be such a whiny bitch. But then Luis pointed out, Luke himself is a whiny bitch.
When you go back and watch again and you get to the 4, you go like, holy shit.
Oh,
Luke.
Dad, do I really have to? Can't I go play with the guys with the fucking thing and the what's it? He's just as whiny as Anakin.
He is.
And then you're starting to go like, oh, wow, he's working on C-3PO and R2-D2, which are the robots that Anakin built when he was a little boy. That's pretty mind-blowing. And then you're like, ooh, Luke's got the hots for his sister. This shit's fucked up.
But even
And then his
that's
sister-
like a teenage boy, right? He doesn't know that's his sister. You
And then
know?
his sister's kissing him.
He's a
Like,
hottest
I'm
girl.
jealous. This shit's really fucked up, man.
I mean, I think that was the only girl he saw outside of Aunt Peru, you know?
Talk
Right.
about
It's
the
like-
dark side.
and it was the princess who was the less whiniest of the whole crew of all the Skywalkers.
Yes.
She's
yes.
like, hold
Leia
my
was-
beer, let me get this shit done.
She was
You
tough.
That
know?
was the top of all the Skywalkers.
Paul, did you know that the fans have made up a backstory for Jar Jar that he gets fired from this? This is the fans who put this together so that they can watch those shows and get through them. That Jar Jar eventually became an alcoholic, got fired from got voted out of the Senate or whatever, dismissed from the Senate, and now he's like shining shoes and doing like little acts on the side of the street for tips. And they've got this whole little backstory figured out for Jar Jar. And
I actually heard a theory that Jar Jar was a really powerful Jedi whose seeming
another one.
accidents always
Yeah.
seem to save the moment. So he's really acting the fool, but he's saving the moment.
it's like Jackie
That-
Chan, because that was Jackie
Yeah.
Chan's bit, right? He was always like fucking up, but it would like turn out to be a good thing.
Now, I did see, I think they've since taken it off of YouTube, but it was called the anti-cheese edit. And it was all the Jar Jar Binks scenes removed
Cut out,
with him
right.
as just an extra. And the movie was 20 minutes shorter.
I'm about
Better
to say,
movie.
yes.
Didn't miss him at all. Same thing with Anakin. They did the same thing, anti-cheese edit on his movie. All the whiny bitch stuff, all the fucking little crybaby shit gone. Just a lot of scowling looks and threatening looking things. And you're like, okay, he's threatening looking. He looks like fucking Darth Vader now. Now I'm buying this bitch.
I think that's why Lucas picked him up, though, is because of that darkness. He felt like he could see darkness in him. Now, you don't hear it or feel it, but part of that's George. George had help writing the scripts for the first 3 Star Wars. His
Well,
girlfriend
whoever
helped him.
was helping with this particular script,
Nobody.
whiny.
Nobody. And then so he writes this
It was-
like...
then somebody should have given George a big cup of crybaby soup and letting him write a Darth Vader that was actually just mean.
George needs help
you
with
see-
dialogue. He needs help
Yeah.
with dialogue,
Did you see in that episode 2 movie in the Clone Wars when Jar Jar broke the fourth wall?
I'm not sure if I remember that part.
So everybody's complaining about Jar Jar in the first movie, right? Nobody wanted Jar Jar in the second movie. So one of the first scenes that they show him in, he's much more, he's part of the council and everything. He's much more civilized. And as he's walking with Anakin, Lucas has Jar Jar Binks look in the camera to all the fans like, "Go fuck yourself, I'm here," So take a look at that again. Jar Jar just look straight into the camera like, "I'm here, deal with it," right? So I thought that was impressive on George Lucas's part.
I'll have to check that out. By the way, the rumor mill's running around that he has now he's doing a trilogy himself, and he's paying for it himself. I think that was the word, or he's putting in some of the money.
That guy can make 9 trilogies by himself with all the money he gathered for all those, just on the toys alone.
Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
the guy who's writing
he got
Loki,
my money.
Kevin Feige. Feige's got that guy writing, starting to write his story, because Feige's got his own trilogy in Star Wars now too. Did you hear about
They all
that?
have their own.
Well, no, because they
That's
fired everybody else. The guys, the Game of Thrones guys are gone. Ryan Johnson's gone. So in the midst of all that, they wound up pulling on Kevin Feige. Of course they pull on Kevin Feige, who's the most successful guy at Disney. It's Kevin Feige. So they pulled him up to do one, and he was cool with doing one. But now apparently he's got this kid working with him, and I'm calling the guy a kid. He's probably 35 years old, but to us, that's a kid, right, Paul? I mean,
Sure. Absolutely.
he's a kid. Yeah.
Child.
That's a kid.
He's
Regarding
a
that, it's a kid.
He's a talented
And
child.
look at me. He's only 10 years younger than me. That's a kid. Yeah.
So
No, but
Kevin,
real quick,
Kevin says that it'd be awesome to have a New Orleans detective on the Loki case. Is he thinking about our esteemed?
Well,
Detective.
I really campaigned. I campaigned so hard for Detective Dillard that I think I drove them off the air. I think that rather than deal with Scott Bakula having to deal with the chemistry, with the natural heat coming off of Detective Dillard, that they just canceled the series. They didn't want that contest. They didn't want a showdown as the star of this show.
No, they couldn't have a
So
showdown, right? Forget
I'm,
the show.
I'm
quick,
hoping
that-
that maybe I'm hoping that maybe things die down, and after a season or two, they realize they can't let this guy just go away. This guy had something. This detective Dillard. It was one scene. It was only 30 seconds, but there was something, and he deserves a series.
So I interrupted you, Luis, but
Sidekick who's into cosplay.
yes, a sidekick who's in. I think he's got somebody in mind. He's got somebody because I'm not doing cosplay.
Wait, you want me to cosplay Dillard? You can cosplay
I want you to be my cosplay informant in the
Like
show.
the little dog in Last Action Hero. You could dress as like the little dog that chases. Remember the little dog or whatever in Last Action Hero?
Gosh.
Show us your toys
And
again.
Nobody's ever going to stop think the cop talking to Barf and getting information from Barf. You know.
Hey, Barf is my go-to. You never met Barf yet, Paul. Me as Barf, you have not met. You met me, but you haven't met me as Barf. That's
When you were in New
and I'm
Orleans,
proud
you
of
did
that.
Uncle Fester. When you were down here, you did Uncle Fester.
You really
Uncle
did, but
Fester.
I don't think I took a picture with you as Barf. So
He
here's
did Uncle
a
Fester, and he
Boba Fett.
freaked fucking people out.
Oh, Boba Fett.
Girls were getting cops to check him out.
Oh, really?
I did. Yes, after taking pictures with me. So here's the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett that I bought during Christmas.
Uh-huh.
And
Pull it
last
back just a
week-
little bit. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Nice.
And then last week I caved in and I bought the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, which we did not
Nice.
talk about. You know, we'll have to talk about
He's
next week.
shinier.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's more expensive. This fucker. I might have to return him. So I get buyer's remorse. You know, once I bring him home, hold the receipt, take it back, and then my credit card's like, thank you. But we never talked about Boba Fett coming back on The Mandalorian, which is going to be huge because he's going to get his own spin-off show. And
That show's
but
great.
you know what? I got a minute, so guys, and then I saw on Facebook Tattletale that it's Mike Mayhew's birthday on Tuesday,
Is it?
Yeah.
June 15th.
No kidding.
I didn't know that until he's gonna. So
We'll have to
happy
celebrate
early
that on
birthday,
Monday.
Star. Yeah, so happy early birthday, Mike.
You know, just occurred to me, Paul. I think Owen Wilson is.
You guys.
I think he's. You leaving? You got to go.
Take care,
All right.
Luis.
See you, Luis.
I gotta go.
All right, brother.
See you guys.
Take care, man.
Got it.
So, Paulie, real quick before we go, I think Detective Dillard. I think Owen Wilson is actually stealing Yeah, I think not stealing, but I think he was inspired with his guy, possibly because he's just so.
I think that my influence throughout the entertainment industry is a thread that runs pretty much through every aspect of the industry. We
right.
started another cup of coffee. You know, we started another cup of coffee. Cooper Manning started Soup with Coop. You know, I'm joking, singing Woody Guthrie songs on the set of Miller's Crossing. They do Brother Where Art Thou? No credit. You know, I write Islands in the Stream. Dolly Parton, who's had a crush on me for years. Next month, she's got a song with Kenny Rogers called Islands in the Stream. Vance DeGeneres can back that one up. So there's I announced I'm retiring in Offbeat. 2 weeks later, Sheryl Crow suddenly retiring on NPR. Now, we talked about, she's been stalking me since the early 90s, so that one, I like her. She's a good kid. She's way too young for me.
Hold on 1
but
second.
she's a good
I'll be
kid.
right back. Hold on 1 second.
He's just leaving me here. I'm in the middle of a completely stupid rant that has not a shed of truth to it, and he just left me. Well, that was fun with Luis because he loves that stuff more than anything. Him and coming to New Orleans for Dragon Con will be fun. Thank you all for tuning in. It's a short show because Mikey has a doctor's appointment. We both remain hopeful with our health and our futures, and that's the best way to be with that. And so it was supposed to be a 9:30 sign off, which means he'll be late for his doctor's appointment.
So sorry to be so
And
rude.
all of you are not surprised because he's late for this. Why shouldn't he be late for his doctor's appointment too?
I don't know what you said, but I'm sorry I was rude. I had to take care of something very quickly, and
You have to go. It's 9:30.
yes, I do have to go. So my kitty cat, I got to take my kitty cat to the vet. Sorry about
Oh,
that.
not you. It's a cat. Oh, it's a cat.
It's a cat. Yeah.
Okay. Is he serious? He's got a little thing?
We were getting the flea medicine, and I think she had to book it like 3 weeks ago because I guess vets are busy. But they wouldn't just give us more flea medicine without seeing her first, so we got to take her.
That's good because sometimes those cats, they want that medicine. They'll do anything to get it. They'll act like they need it. They're sly boots.
Yes. I'm sure she loves to have that thing shoved up her butt, whatever that thing that they do. Cats love that.
Cats got a whole butt thing. You ever noticed that? Scratch a cat's butt, they just stick it right up in the air. Like, hey, you got any medicine you can shove in there?
They do have a butt thing, don't they?
A lot like Stevie Nicks.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you liked Loki. That was awesome because I liked it too. I think it's fun.
I'm a big Loki fan.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cute, and we'll see where it goes. And not only that,
Okay,
that bite-sized little 30-minute show for a Marvel show is like, what?
What did Phil say?
He said, it's the cat.
Well, I think they have cats too. Phil and Joy have cat. They have dog and cat, and probably now they have chickens in the backyard. They were building an extension. For all I know, there's wildlife everywhere. It's North Carolina. Right. Those people in North Carolina, they love their wildlife. Dang
it. So, well, by the way, me and Paul, we bit the bullet. We almost didn't have a show today, but we had to go and spend a whole lot of money just to put this on.
We got cut off by VMix, and we found 2 sponsors who love the show enough, who think that we're both brilliant enough vloggers to support the show. Paul Sanchez Music stepped up with half, and Ground Floor Productions. President Michael Mayu stepped up with the other half.
Yes,
so we won't be asking y'all for a Kickstarter campaign so that we can continue to be knuckleheads. We get to continue to be knuckleheads because we felt like it.
We
paid money, knuckleheads.
We are going to start selling merch, though. I think we're going to put together the coffee cups because we don't have to buy them. We can make it so that you guys just, if you want to order them, you order them, and Amazon bills them and sends them to you, or whoever it is that bills them and sends them to you.
Whoever it is.
And that way we don't have nothing to do with it except giving them the logo. So, we will be doing that.
Mikey, if you can make that happen, or whoever can make that happen, great.
Yes, we will do that. Now, as far as the giving away free ones, we'll see. Especially if you guys can figure out what time we're going to go. Today we really threw a curveball at you. We were early.
Like I said, I am willing to take a mug out of my cabinet and send it to the person that comes right on the money with the time that we start. If somebody gets it right on the money, can't be close, got to get it right on the money, I'll take a personal mug and I will email them coffee.
And look, I will say this we will not be watching those, and trust me, there's nothing going on in the comments that we're gonna go on as soon as we can go on. So, yep, my wife's wrap it up now. We got to go take the cat.
Yeah,
so.
you got to save the cat's life.
Yes.
Go save the cat's life. Go be a superhero.
I'm going to go be a superhero. That's right.
Right.
Insulated travel mugs. Yes, that's where the money's at. Yeah, Caleb, I think you might be right. We might have to look at all sorts of mugs, right?
Caleb, tuning in again. Oh, my God. We're
gonna... and for a Loki episode, too, right? Thanks, Caleb, for hanging out. And I guess, you're going to go? We're going to go? We'll see you...
I think you have to go. You have to go save your cat.
Yep. We'll see you Monday. And then Paul says he's got a guest for next Wednesday. At some point, we'll figure it out what that is.
We'll make something happen, sure.
Yeah, of course we will. Caleb, maybe.
I'll call him.
Call Caleb. See if he's up for it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry it's a short show today. And we'll see you guys Monday.
It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair changes color all the time. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, I'm staring at her shoulder, but it's not what I see when I hear two fellas fighting in the booth across from me.